If a man changes your relationship dynamic because you're not having sex in the way that he wants to, by cheating on you, cutting you off financially, or leaving you because you stopped doing sex the way he wants, not only is that manipulation and borderline abuse, but you are technically a sex worker. Buckle the hell up as we ride this magic carpet ride. Welcome back to my channel. My name is Donna Cabra, and I hold space for radical bad bitch shit. If that sounds like something good for you, then you're at the right place. And if you're just like, what does that mean? Stick around and find out. Take 30. That hot chocolate. What's up? What's up? Dearly beloved, we are here today to reflect on the expectations of women, whether married, single, or sex worker. Society loves to pit women against each other, and yet women of all walks of life still seem to be receiving the same experience with men. Isn't that something? Disappointment and a demand of labor from women. Why is it that a housewife finds herself brushing against the same men that sex workers do? Do women that are married come across different kinds of men? The answer is no. Sex workers and housewives are more similar than folks like to admit. There is a denial in the similarity because of the false Puritan beliefs and the unnecessary competition that comes with patriarchy. I am jumping the gun with socio-political theory, but I be running in circles around the girls, so it just jumps out like a cat out of the bag. Because I was raised watching reality TV, I understand how the microcosm of this type of television is a reflection of the world we live in. Now, I've also had my fair share of reruns of the Real Housewives franchise to understand the lore and insiders of these women and their relationships, whether romantic, friends, family, and the like. Buckle the hell up as we ride this magic carpet ride. Oh, magic carpet ride. Come on, sex workers. I'm going to specifically discuss the way in which sex workers easily become wives in spite of society's messaging for women to be virgin adjacent and classy. In this video, I will pointedly discuss Real Housewives star Ashley Darby and how she played both roles and got lucky enough to reap some benefits. Most wives do not get this lucky. Most sex workers do not get this lucky. And I believe it is because Ashley went into her marriage with the hustle of a sex worker that her cards were dealt in the way they were. Now, I'm going to state again, like I've had in previous videos, I experienced both the idea of being wife material as well as holding the space, title, and experience of a sex worker. This is because of desirability politics and men staying in an idle status of horniness. I am able to wield a certain type of experience depending on how I dress, my hairstyles, choice of verbiage or lingo, style of makeup, and so on. Speaking of makeup, let me put on some lip gloss. Most of these attributes are physical. However, there are things like verbiage and geographic location that are also macro external factors that can also affect how I show up in the outside world. So I have had the option to be someone's wife several times. As a student of history, I know that that is a risky path I am not willing to take. I love being free, experiencing joy, and getting loved on in ways that do not center the American dream or patriarchal romantic monogamy. I have been propositioned to be married, moving in together, have babies for, and business investments offered by men. That is easy. But you know what's hard? Having daily interactions with those men, putting up with the manipulation and lies of those men, keeping up the obligations that come with those relationships. As someone that has toed the line of wife, I can say that being a wife is hard work, especially when partnering with cis het men. I love soft living, and that is exactly why I will not partner with a cishet man that is not actively chipping away at patriarchal standards. Because if I was desperate to be someone's wife, I would be miserable. Because that is a hard life to live, and bitch, I don't want no hard life. Gloss. My stomach growling. Anywho, enough of my soapbox tangent. We are here to dissect the romantic relationship between Ashley Darby and Michael Darby, and ultimately their children. I'm going to keep the kids out of this as much as possible because they are minors that have no say in the matter, but also, the children are variables in their relationship and will be discussed, but with kitty gloves, of course. Donnie love the kids. Donnie love the kids that are over there. That are over there. All right, let's get into it. Ashley is a Bravo celebrity that has been in the public eye because of her being a part of the Real Housewives franchise. Typically, in order to be a part of this franchise, one must be married or in the running to be married. When Ashley joined the cast in 2016, she was 28, turning 29, and had been married to Michael Darby for 2 years. Ashley got married at the age of 26, and Michael was 55. Now, I am 28 years young. I cannot imagine being married at the age of 26, let alone someone that's 55. And then he's white, so that's really like 72. Typically, when there's an age gap relationship with a younger woman and an older man, people tend to assume the union is because the man is rich and the woman is beautiful. This is a trope because of the fact that rich men get older but want their women to remain youthful. Not all age gap marriages end because of a man wanting a younger woman. However, there is a pattern of separation and or divorce after children are born or when women demand more support from their partner in the relationship. The reason why the dynamic of young woman and old man is popular is because of the concept of virginity, the lure of inexperience, and the fun of manipulation. The age gap of 29 years between Ashley and Michael is the precursor of the expectation of their relationship dynamic. Michael is expected to be the breadwinner, and Ashley is expected to be youthful, beautiful, and fun. If Michael went broke, Ashley would probably leave him, and if Ashley became undesirable to Michael, he would absolutely leave her. The reason why marriage is typically a losing game for women is because women's desirability is always on the line and is the factor of whether their husband will stay around or not. Statistically speaking, men are expected to leave their wives if she becomes ill, after pregnancy, if her body changes, or if she decides to go back to school. Also, if another woman seems more desirable than his current partner, then it is a possibility that he will chase after her and might cheat. Is that because boys will be boys? LOL. No, silly. That is because we as a society have positioned men as human gods that have jurisdiction over every fucking thing. For example, women talk about getting snatched back after giving birth because of the fear that she will lose her desire ability in her husband's eyes. Like you just gave life and you worried about getting skinny. Women spend tons of money on anti aging products and procedures so they don't lose their desire ability. Women get life threatening surgery so they don't lose their desire ability. There are women that literally have to cook for their husband, boyfriend, baby daddy because she knows if she stopped doing that, her purpose would be lowered in his eyes and he will go elsewhere to someone that gives him a little more desire. Desire is such a finicky thing that ebbs and flows more than the wind. Once a woman becomes undesirable to her husband or boyfriend, he either leaves or cheats. Now, when you think about it, not often is a relationship revamp initiated by a man. If there are leaks in the relationship, it is expected for the woman to see those leaks and then work towards bettering the relationship. If a husband cheats on his wife, it is typically the woman that would set up a counseling session to work through the issues. Women have to do mental gymnastics to figure out why her husband is a big, strong man in the streets, but becomes an incompetent nitwit when asked to do simple house chores. Am I dragging? Am I dragging? It's a clusterfuck of responsibility that comes with being a wife, whether traditional or not. Being a wife comes with a job description that is exploitative. The roles are constantly changing, and there's always a way to pile on tasks if asked by the supervisor. Husband. Hate me for stating these obvious facts, but I have studied the historical patterns of romantic relationships, and this is what constantly comes up in heterosexual, monogamous relationships worldwide. Because they be saying they're monogamous, girl, but they sure be not acting like it. Anywho, back to Ashley. Both Ashley and Michael have admitted that they have a colorful sex life that included threesomes. Andy Cohen dubbed them the horniest couple out of all of the Housewives. And I honestly think that can single handedly be thanks to Michael, as he has been accused of sexual harassment by several people. The Darbys have explained before that they have had a rift in their marriage several times because Michael wanted to keep the threesomes going while Ashley did not. There have been accusations of Michael cheating on Ashley multiple times. And the time Ashley confronted Michael about the cheating, they both brought up the fact that Ashley did not want to have fun anymore, hinting at her not wanting to engage in threesomes anymore. If a man changes your relationship dynamic because you're not having sex in the way that he wants to, by cheating on you, cutting you off financially, or leaving you because you stop doing sex the way he wants, not only is that manipulation and borderline abuse, but you are technically a sex worker. If your living standard shifts because you no longer want to engage in sexual acts, newsflash, buddy, newsflash, buddy, you're a sex worker. Welcome to the club. Now, here's a caveat. There are women that have their own financial stability, which is great. We love that. Financial stability around here, we love that. But those women are not housewives. They are working women that happen to be married. These women end up doing double the burdensome work of a traditional wife, like house chores, cooking, and child rearing. But then they still have to go out into the workforce and put bread on the table, which it's like a lose-lose. Like either way, you either dependent on a man or you doing double the work. I'm telling you, being a sex worker is easier. You get the dollars and then you kick that sorry buster to the curb. Like, bye. Bye, Buster. That's if you're smart. Because there are all the girls that fall in love with their tricks, which is a no-go. I'll make a different video for the difference between a trick and a partner that is financially gracious. Because confusing the two comes with heartbreak and a lot of cord cutting from all parties involved. Ask me how I know. LOL. Anyway, Mrs. Darby has since gone into further detail about how, because she has now have children, she did not want to participate in certain sexual acts.
From Los Angeles said, Ashley, I don't buy that you and Michael are divorcing because he wants to have threesomes and you don't. You've looked the other way for years. Just admit it's because the prenup is up. The babies are out, and it's time to secure the bag. What do you want to say to Portia?
Oh, Portia, I appreciate your knowledge of my life. I really do want monogamy, and I want to set that example for my kids.
Mia, you clearly don't share.
This then made her undesirable to Michael, thus, them being separated, her moving out, and her also getting nothing from their prenup agreement if they decide to go all the way through the divorce process. She gets a little something, but definitely not what she was expecting.
What is the status of the prenup? Will you get half of what he has?
Oh, man. It really just did not work out in my favor.
Wow.
Essentially, everything that Michael came into the marriage with is his. The money that Michael made, that he then put into other projects later, is all considered his because of the source of the money. Right? So if he made that money prior to us getting married, and he invested that into later projects, all the money from those projects that he later invested in is still his.
Do you know how much he is worth and where his money is and how much money he has?
No.
So no lump sum payment, no idea of what alimony might look like?
According to the prenup, I'm not allowed to live down.
Wow.
You can't get alimony? I know, guys, okay? Yeah. I thought
Actually, can you have your lawyer look at it?
Child support?
Money that's in the marriage that he made during the marriage that was not invested. Can you touch that? Because I believe you can. Yeah, but you don't even know how much that is.
I know,
She has no idea.
I didn't get into the nitty-gritty of all that simply because my prenup was pretty ironclad.
Are you coming out of this getting anything from them outside of child support?
Yes.
And house.
What?
I got my house. I also have some language in my separation and divorce agreement about some safety nets in case I have some financial difficulties.
So like spousal support.
Essentially.
Portia from Los Angeles said, Ashley, I don't buy that you and Michael are divorcing because he wants to have threesomes.
They have been separated almost 2 years now and have not moved forward in the divorce process, which is kind of strange. I personally think this is because Ashley knows that her living standard would change tremendously if she stopped being Michael's possession. Oops, I mean wife. Ashley is promised child support and spousal support, ? But the way she explained how their existing prenup sliced and diced any dreams she thought in regards to getting half of Michael's possessions and money is sickening. Ashley had to let that man lay on top of her and next to her for years. Consensual? Yes. Enjoyable? Maybe. Handsome? No. But let's backtrack a bit and discuss the dynamic of Ashley being a sex worker gone housewife. Bitch, I'm snapping. Come on, script. Come on, script. Come on, script. Ashley is desirable to the standard of white supremacy, and Michael Darby is absolutely a white supremacist. While in her early 20s, Ashley was a bartender in one of Michael's restaurants, and that is how they met. Now, there's already a dynamic here that is a little off, since a person that holds power over another person should not date each other. Professors should not date their students, and bosses should not date their employees. It's a slippery slope, and abuse of power often happens. It also just gives a bad look because it's like, damn, you can't not be horny while you at the workplace. Like, keep it in your pants. Like, Also, if there are any bartenders watching, you already know that that job comes with sexualization, no matter the gender. Being a bartender is a job that is a part of nightlife culture. It's fast, taboo, deals with alcoholism and other drugs. It's a little risque, to say the least. And depending on where you are bartending, it can be sex work. I have homegirls that bartend in strip clubs and other kind of clubs. And what do you find in strip clubs? Sex workers and tricks. Hello, favorite kind of place to be. This is also typical in any type of bar or restaurant. Sex workers are everywhere, and so are tricks, johns, customers, sugar daddies, whatever you want to call them. I look so good. Like, obviously, there was some inappropriate behavior going on in the workplace between Michael and Ashley in order for them to be romantic enough to have threesomes and get married. The scandalous housewife has expressed that her upbringing was a little rough, and she has shared that she was raised with her mother constantly being financially unstable, and her scumbag of a father never claimed her. Ashley's mother has been financially dependent on her since before Ashley got married. And Ashley has also previously stated that her mother and her mother's boyfriend was living in a tent on the side of the road at one point in time, which is really, really disturbing and sad. As someone that has had to financially support a parent for years at a time, I understand the pressure that it puts on you as their child. There's a certain type of gumption that comes with being responsible for a parent that has you making decisions you normally wouldn't make if there was gobs of money and financial stability. Now, I am not saying that Ashley married Michael in order to take care of her mother, that Ashley married Michael to help take care of her mother, but what I am saying is that Ashley may have thought twice about marrying a watery eyed white man, 30 years her senior, if she was born into wealth and did not have to be financially responsible for multiple people. Mm. Ooh. Sex workers are thought of as delinquent sex slaves that are expected to be at the beck and call of their client that is paying. And this can't be further from the truth. In an actual sex worker situation, there are agreements between all parties involved and people holding up their end of the bargain. For example, if a stripper gives you a lap dance, there's a minimum amount of money that is expected for that dance. And if you want to throw extra, then that is fantastic and you that nigga for real. However, if you do not pay the dancer, then you get thrown out of the club and possibly banned from ever returning. Or if you go to a woman that does street prostitution for some head and you don't pay her, then you can end up getting jumped and beat up by her and her homegirls, or shot and killed by her pimp if she has one. There are consequences for holding up your end of a bargain in relation to sex work, as with any job or relationship, marriage included as well. Agreements and consent is at the root of sex work. Without these major factors, it can quickly become assault. Had to do a little camera situation. Get her together. Bam, we back on. Similar to how city girls are brought on dates and shown off in the public eye as a symbol of status, if her trick isn't paying bills or making sure she is getting gifts and luxury items, she would probably stop answering his calls and refuse contact. But if she was bad to the bone, she'd rob his ass. But that's another topic for another day. Also, it used to be a flex to be a trick. Like, if you had a baddie on your arm, that meant you spending a pretty penny to keep her beautiful and interested in you. Hence, Trick Daddy, and like that being his name and that being like a flex, because to be a trick is like a flex because that means you got money. Don't be ashamed if you're a trick. You're actually that nigga for real. And I love you, Booski. And I love you, Booski. Because our relationships involve expectations, if someone does not hold up their end of the bargain, then the relationship either changes or comes to an end. Marriages included, especially if the marriage is between a wealthy man and a woman that is expecting to be kept. If the woman becomes undesirable, the consequence could be her getting left, abused, or financially vulnerable, amongst other things. My comparisons may seem far off to the average pick me that believes holy pussy tastes better than whole pussy, and I am here to tell you it does not matter. It do not matter. Because men essentially want ego boosts and a warm hole. Not all, of course, but you know. But you know. Ashley Darby has had to wield her sex life against Michael in order to get him to act right and not cheat, be a present father, support her mother's housing instability, as well as Ashley's current housing situation in the present day. If Michael did not find Ashley sexy, he would have never married her in the first place. And if she continued to have threesomes with him, they may not be separated right now. Ashley Darby has had to manipulate Michael through different sex related scenarios in order to keep the standard of living she has now become accustomed to, like a sex worker. Dependent on a man's money in order to get things you need, want, and desire. Sounds like all housewives, if you ask me. Ashley, her castmates, and myself included, all thought that her having children for the Australian weirdo
So, okay.
would solidify a meal ticket for her to be financially set for life. But alas, that is not the case. A lot of women and men believe that marriage is a guaranteed way to, to, to secure the bag and have certain benefits and rights that are financially lucrative. However, women that are on child support can tell you that is not the case. While courts usually side with mothers to have physical custody, that leaves her 100% responsible for the immediate needs of the children involved. Now, this is good if this is a good thing if you are financially well off and can afford you and your kids' lifestyle. But if you need additional support, child support is oftentimes a minimal amount and takes a long ass time to receive if the person paying is not a willful participant. Also, if you do not have a good lawyer or a strong courthouse presence, child support is sometimes never received, leaving adult children demanding that their father or parent, but let's just say father because we know what it is, for unpaid child support payments. Ashley Darby assumed that she would be able to marry a millionaire and then become a millionaire herself. Now that she went over her prenup with a fine tooth comb, she sees that she ain't got that kind of motion and ultimately had to put a stop to the process of divorce, which is still a power move. She's smart. There is the phrase cheaper to keep her, but in this case, in order to stay fly, swallow your pride and stay married to an Australian colonizer. Anywho, this was a blast to write and express. The next person that I want to do a deep dive on in this series will be Portia Williams. Her story is a little different from Ashley's because of her affluent background and her relationship to the man that she had a child with but didn't get married to. Still all very interesting dynamics and still very close to sex work. Until next time. And just know I'm gonna do Nene too because Nene was an actual sex worker. You feel me? Like she loud and proud about it. And I love that for her. Can't wait to get to her, but we're gonna climb up the ladder. Anyways, thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. It was so much fun writing it, and it was so much fun recording it. It's such a vibe. Like, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling great. Like the video, comment on the video, share the video, rewatch the video. Do what you gotta do, get my engagement up. Also, subscribe to my channel. I think I'm at like 30 something subscribers, which I'm just like, I want to get to 100. I actually want to get to 300. I want to get to 300 because that's when monetization starts. And girl, I'm like, I'm looking, I'm like, where is the 300 subscribers? So we gonna get there soon, girl. Ain't no pressure, girl. We gonna get there. But yes, please subscribe to my channel. Ask your friends to subscribe. If you have multiple Google accounts, subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you have multiple YouTube accounts, subscribe to my YouTube channel. It's it's a vibe over here. Like we doing something right now. You know, we deconstructing some things right now. You feel me? So yes, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a great time. Until next time, baby. Mwah. No words. I look so good. Like body yada 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 yada.